Welcome everyone, this is your own channel Learner's Saga. In this video we will discuss the paragraph number 15 to paragraph number 20 from the chapter number 9. The title is The Bond of Love. But before we start, I like to request you to press the like button, subscribe the channel if you are new, and also to share and comment on the video. So without wasting any time, let's begin. In our previous video, we studied that Bruno was fretting. In the cage of the Mysore Zoo, Bruno was fretting and he skipped his food too. And the same situation was in case of the narrator's wife. So let's start from paragraph number 15. After that, friends visiting Mysore were begged to make a point of going to the zoo and seeing how Baba was getting along. That means the narrator's wife was very much curious to know the whereabouts or the well-being of the sloth bear. Anyone who is going to Mysore, she would ask him or her to go to visit the zoo and to see how Bruno was getting along. They reported that he was well, but looked very thin and sad. Definitely, they reported correctly that he was well, but as he is probably missing the family also, he skipped the food. That's why he is looking thin and sad. All the keepers at the zoo said he was fretting. Yes, we have already understood that word fretting. Fretting means worried, unhappy, or not relaxed, or in our previous video as we have discussed, to become meditative, anxious. Okay. For 3 months I managed to restrain my wife from visiting Mysore. Then she said one day, I must see Baba. Either you take me by car or I will go myself by bus or train. So I took her by car. So what happened? The narrator's wife, she was feeling very badly for the poor Bruno. She was missing that animal, and out of love she asked her husband that whether he would take her by car or she would herself go by bus or train. So I took her by car. So the narrator had no option but to go Mysore to visit Bruno. Friends had conjectured that the bear would not recognize her. It was the anticipation. Conjecture means you can see here they formed an opinion by guessing. That means the anticipation, you may say. The friends anticipated that the bear probably would not recognize her. I had thought so too, because it's a long time, 3 months have been passed. But while she was yet some yards from his cage, Baba saw her and recognized her. So the opposite happened. The animal very well recognized her. He howled with happiness. She ran up to him, petted him through the bars, and he stood on his head in delight. So a very emotional scene. You can probably visualize, you can understand this one, that on seeing the narrator's wife, Bruno howled with happiness. Howled, you can see here, howl means to create a sound of howling. Okay, and he howled with happiness. She ran up to him. The narrator's wife immediately went to caress him. She petted him. Petted means she stroked. She caressed him through the bars. The Bruno was still under the bars. Bruno was still behind the bar, and he stood on his head in delight. That means the animal was feeling that enjoyment. As the narrator's wife was caressing him, he was feeling that. He was enjoying that moment in delight. For the next 3 hours, she would not leave that cage. She gave him tea, lemonade, cakes, ice cream, and what not. As we already know, that the sloth bear Bruno had the habit of eating a lot, drinking a lot. So after meeting the narrator's wife, Bruno was feeling well and he ate and drank a lot. Then closing time came. Closing time means the meeting time. You can say the end of the meeting time, and we had to leave. My wife cried bitterly. Bitterly means very passionately here. Baba cried bitterly, and Bruno also cried. Even the hardened curator and the keepers felt depressed. Not only the narrator's wife and the animal they cried, rather the hardened curator, who is supposed to be a very hard, the curator, but they and the keepers of that zoo, they also felt very depressed, very sorrowful. As for me, I had reconciled myself to what I knew was going to happen next. And the narrator was a very uh, intelligent one. He understood that what is about to happen. I knew um, what I knew was going to happen next. Okay. Oh, please, sir, she asked the curator, may I have my Baba back? Okay. So this was probably the anticipation of the narrator. The narrator understood that probably this question would be asked by his wife. Hesitantly he answered, Madam, he belongs to the zoo and is government property now. I cannot give away government property. But if my boss, the superintendent at Bangalore, agrees, certainly you may have him back. So, on being asked by the narrator's wife, the curator, he was a very polite one, he tried to explain the fact that now that animal is a government property and he cannot give away that animal to the narrator's wife. But if the superintendent at Bangalore of this zoo agrees, then definitely she can get it back. There followed the return journey to Bangalore and a visit to the superintendent's bungalow. So subsequently, they went to meet the superintendent's bungalow to get Bruno back. A tearful pleading, Baba and I are both fretting for each other. Will you please give him back to me? So, after reaching there, the narrator's wife pleaded. Pleaded means requested. How? She said that both of us are fretting. We are very anxious. We are very worried. We are not happy. Uh, will you please give him back to me? He was a kind-hearted man and consented. Not only that, but he wrote to the curator telling him to lend us a cage for transporting the bear to Bangalore. So he was a very, very good man. He consented. He gave his consent that okay, you may get your Bruno back. And not only so, he wrote a letter to the curator of the zoo, telling him that to give the narrator and his wife a cage to transport the bear to Bangalore. Okay, students, in this video, we have discussed from paragraph number 15 to paragraph number 19. In our next video, we will discuss probably the remaining portion, paragraph number 20 to paragraph number 23. But before we leave, as usual, I like to request you to comment on the video. If you have any question, you may please ask me. I will try to answer you as soon as possible. Okay, so hoping to meet you in our next video. Goodbye.